Hello, a very warm welcome back. This is episode 33 of the series entitled Gita Decoded, and we are about halfway through chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, where we have Sister Denise with us in the studio, and she's explaining to us what the terms mean, and more specifically what God expects of us, and how to apply that which is contained in this ancient Indian text into our daily lives. Sister Denise, it's always great to have you here. A very warm welcome back.
Thank you.
Sister Denise, we ended off last episode discussing what is contained in verse 12. I'd now like to begin on verse 13, which states, uttering the single syllable Om, Brahman meditating upon me, or on me rather, he who goes forth renouncing the body goes to the supreme goal. Would you explain the significance of uttering Om? From what I understood thus far, connecting with God is a mind thing and a heart thing. Now there's mention of a word. How does the word fit into the picture?
Here you're going into the physical. You can think the word Om, but here it says uttering the word Om. Actually, if you're really into the mind, you don't need to say anything. So in the practice of Raj Yoga that we do in Brahma Kumaris, we don't say anything. And we don't even actually think a particular word, but we will hold concepts in the mind. For example, you can actually meditate on the meaning of the word Om, which is different from just repeating the word. We wouldn't really do that. But Om means I exist. But I think we want to go a little bit further. So in the meditation that we do, there's thought, using a lot of thought that actually takes the mind to God, like a sort of a circling of thinking that takes you to a point. And Om would be one of those words or one of those concepts, but it wouldn't just be a repetition of the sound of Om.
So what you just said, Sister Denise, is that the word is a means to an end. It's not about the word itself, is what it does for you.
You have to look at the meaning of the word Om and other words as well. I don't think you would stay all that long just on the word Om, but I mean there are people who would. The thing is this, if you're going to do a chant, that brings you to the physical. If you want to be connected with God, that's really mental. So we would just stick with the mental.
Well, what you just said is confirmed by what is contained in verse 14, which reads, he who thinks of me constantly, whose mind does not ever go elsewhere. I mean, hello, I'd like to meet such a person. For him, the yogin who is constantly devoted, I am easy to reach, Arjuna. God is obviously describing an exceptional human being. And there are those like that who walk on this planet, but they're few and far between, aren't they?
Yeah, you see, if you are totally focused on God, completely focused on God, and then you start to remember somebody else, then because God is reciprocal, as long as you're totally focused on him, he's right there for you. But the second that you remember somebody else, he's not there for you anymore. So then you have to do a lot of work to get God to be with you. Because there's a lot of people remembering God, he's going to go somewhere else.
What is meant in verse 15 that reads, approaching me those whose souls are great, who have gone to the supreme perfection, do not incur rebirth, that impermanent home of misfortune. I find those last two lines very thought-provoking. Do not incur rebirth, that impermanent home of misfortune.
I think that you remember when I was talking a little bit earlier about the Kali Yuga. So the way that we would work with this is we want to not incur rebirth in the Kali Yuga. Because Kali Yuga is anyway a place of misfortune. Also, if you're taking rebirth according to karmic accounts, that's also going to be a place of misfortune. So what we're trying to do is to let go of our involvement with the world at the end of their cycle and return to God in the world of nirvana, and then reappear in the material world when it has been completely transformed from the Kali Yuga into the Satyuga. This is what we're trying to do.
Sister Denise, the next verse that I would like you to explain to the viewer is that which is contained in number 17, verse number 17. They who know that the day of Brahma extends as far as 1,000 yugas, and that the night of Brahma ends only in 1,000 yugas. They are men who know day and night. So God is now taking up the subject of time with Arjuna, because it's one of the things that Arjuna does not understand, and well, neither do we. Could you explain what that means? I must say, when I read that, I struggled to find the meaning behind it. What is a yuga? What is 1,000 yugas?
Well, a yuga is an age, right? And a kalpa is a cycle. Here you see that time is considered to be, very, very long, which corresponds to the ideas of modern science. In modern science it is said that, the world began with a Big Bang 14 billion years ago, and here we are 14 billion years away from another Big Bang, at which point everything will cease to exist. So we're in the middle of that. Now here we talk about the day of Brahma and the night of Brahma. So in Brahma Kumaris, the way we understand this is a little differently. We consider that in the cycle, in the kalpa, the cycle of all the reincarnations of one cycle, we talk about 84 births. And in conventional Hinduism, there is mention of a cycle of 84, and we will say that means 84 births. And we feel that we incarnate only in human form. Could be female, could be male, but we do not transmigrate to other species. We don't think that. And so we feel that Brahma is one of the Trinity, the Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar. Brahma, we consider, is the soul. It says, Brahma becomes Vishnu in a second, and Vishnu becomes Brahma after many, many incarnations. So the same soul Brahma, the same soul Krishna, the same Soul Vishnu. So this is the highest among all human souls, which is being spoken about in the Gita from time to time, the highest one. The day of Brahma, the way we look at that, the day of Brahma is the reincarnations of Brahma as Vishnu, Krishna, through the Golden Age and Silver Age, the period of the cycle where everything is sato pradhan or sato, where the gunas is pure. That is the day. And then the night is the other side of the swastika. The swastika is divided into 4, so these are equal divisions. So that means in the way that we are thinking about these things, each section of the swastika is of the same duration of time. Swastika means the symbol of self-knowledge. So in our picture of the cycle of time, we will have the swastika over that. When the swastika's arms are on the right-hand side, that's called the day. You go to the other side of the cycle, the swastika's arms on the left-hand side, we'll call that the night. So the period of the night is the period of karmic accounts, the period where life is short, the reincarnations are more, and so that will be the night of Brahma. But we would not say that it lasts 1,000 yugas. We would say 2 yugas for the day, Satyuga and Treta Yuga, 2 yugas. Then we would say 2 yugas for the night, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. And then after Kali Yuga, you again come into the day. And I think it's very important that it shows in the Gita that day succeeds night, night succeeds day. So you keep on going around and around the cycle. But what we do also feel in Brahma Kumaris is that at the end of the night of Brahma, that's also the end of the whole cycle, then everyone goes back to God. And we feel that the knowledge of the Gita needs to be provided to us at that moment in time when everyone has to go back to God, and then we start again with the day of Brahma. So we call ourselves, we say I am Brahma Kumar or Brahma Kumari, and we say that Prajapita Brahma is Brahma, and the children of Brahma are Brahmins, and Brahmins are the ones who also follow Brahma around the cycle. So there is the day of Brahma, which is also the day of Brahmins, the night of Brahma, the night of Brahmins. So what that would mean for me in my practice is I would say, okay, I'm now at the end of the night of Brahma, and I'm practicing to return to Brahman, to the soul world, to remember God, to go there, and then I will be striving to come back onto the earth at the beginning of the day of Brahma with Brahma in his form as Vishnu or Krishna.
Sister Denise, as I look at verse 19, the subject of night or day, night and day comes in. Could you explain why the role of Brahma is being emphasized in this verse, in this chapter, and why is Brahma's role so pivotal in God's task?
I think we have to look at verse 18 because it gives a bit more clarity there. From the unmanifest, all manifestations come forth at the arrival of Brahma's day. And then at the arrival of Brahma's night, they are dissolved. And that is, at that point, they become unmanifest again. So the way that we would look at this is such. There's a cycle of time. Day, night. After night, you return to the unmanifest state. That means the soul returns again and becomes a seed. And then returns again in the day, the golden age, silver age. And then after the end of the day of Brahma, from our angle in Brahma Kumaris, there is a great dissolution at the end of the day of Brahma, and then there is the period of human history, which is the night, the period of darkness, where everyone is blindly looking for God, which takes a long period of time. And there the souls are no longer soul conscious, but they have to reincarnate according to karma. So this is the time of unpleasantness, basically. So you have a time where everything is perfect, a time where everything is really imperfect, and then this time where you move from imperfect to perfect is the biggest possible change, a vast and dramatic change, a change that is such that it's like history absolutely stops. We return to the soul world and it starts again.
Sister Denise, verse 20 reads, "But higher than this state of being, in another unmanifest state of being, higher than the primeval unmanifest, which, when all beings perish, does not perish." What is being referred to here? Can I just ask that question in the context of what is contained in verse 21? This unmanifest is the imperishable, thus it is said. They call it the supreme goal, attaining which they do not return. This is my supreme dwelling place, capital M. So there is a goal that Sri Krishna is presenting to Arjuna, to which he should aspire. A goal that is contained both in verses 20 and 21. What is the goal referred to here? And how do we go about achieving it?
There are two goals. It is called mukti and jivan mukti. So mukti is also known as moksha. The majority of souls in this world, especially within the practices of Hindu Dharma, they aspire to mukti. They want to go back to Brahman and not return. They want to come out of rebirth. Then there is another goal, which is really what we are concerned with within the practice of Raj Yoga according to Brahma Kumaris. We want Jivan Mukti. So we return to Mukti, the soul world, for some time. It's a timeless time, but nevertheless there is time because in the cycle time goes on. And then we want to very quickly come back onto the earth, manifest, you see. So I think that these shlokas are really talking about the goal of mukti, the goal of moksha, which is the majority of people's aspiration. Anyway, our idea is we'll come back. And the reason we say that is that if you're here in the first place, you have a karma with the earth, and you will have to play that again because of everything repeating. So if you want to be in eternal liberation, you'd have to already be there, because otherwise how did you get here? You have to have got here somehow. And if you got here, it means you have a role to play here. And maybe you have a long period of time in a state of liberation. You don't come into rebirth, but ultimately, because you're here now, you will have to come here again and maybe have a short period of time on the earth.
Yeah, Sister Denise, what is contained in verse 23 is quite noteworthy. But at which times the yogins return or do not return, as they depart at death, of these times I shall speak, Arjuna. Does one have a choice, Sister Denise, in whether you return or not? That's my first question. And the second one is, you spoke in a previous episode of cyclical time or linear time.
Yeah.
How does that fit into this picture?
Well, a yogin comes to a point where they're almost the same as God, almost the same level, if they're full yogis. So they're, to honor them, they will be given choice. And you hear of yogins who describe having had choice. You have choice, but you also have destiny. And then there's also needs. In God's scheme of things, He may say to a yogi soul, okay, you have reached a stage where you can just stay in the world of light. However, you are such a useful person that if you would be willing to go down and continue to perform in the world of humanity, there would be great benefit, because you would bring great benefit. Now, what would you like to do? So there they will have choice. It's interesting that, God says, I will let you know about this later on. So there's more shall be revealed. So there's some secrets in here.
Yes.
And then you ask yourself, okay, what kind of a yogi can I be? Can I be one of those? And if I'm going to be one of those, then what do I want? What am I for? People want to know, what's the purpose of my life? There has to be a purpose.
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? Whether you're 6, 16 or 60, that is the ultimate question. See that we have a time constraint, so I'm going to skip to the last two stanzas, which reads, knowing these two paths, the yogin is not confused at all, therefore at all times be steadfast in yoga, Arjuna. The yogin, having known all this, goes beyond the pure fruit of action, which comes from the study of the Vedas, sacrifices, austerities and gifts, and goes to the supreme primal state. Primal state. That is a very interesting term. We've heard primeval before, and now primal implies original state.
Mm-hmm.
What is your understanding of the last two stanzas?
I think also it's important to mention stanza 26, where he talks about there are two paths. One path you go to mukti, and the other path you come back again, jivan mukti. So this is clearly stated, and you decide what you want. But I think what's also important in this, you have to do yoga for both, but your karma would be different depending on which one you want. So you have to decide.
Oh, that is quite loaded. What does that mean?
You have your original stage, your present stage, and your perfect stage. 3 stages. Now, this you asked about primal. So I would equate that primal to what we call the original stage, which is the seed stage. So if you go for eternal liberation, you go to the seed stage, the primal stage. If you say, no, I will go there, but I will not stay there. I will come back again. So there you have your original stage. So the soul who is perfected through the teachings of God, the purification of God and everything, will come at the beginning of the Satyuga as a Satopradhan soul, as a Raja, a king, because this is after all Raj Yoga, the yoga for sovereignty. So sovereignty also means sovereignty over the earth, dominion over the earth. So that is also Jivan Mukti. If you want to do that, then you have to do very specific karma which will take you there. So your yoga completely frees you from all your bondages. You become karmatit and you become completely pure. But if you want to go to the Satyuga, then you have to do such karma which creates that future, to create a kingdom, to create a feeling in the hearts of many people who would be in your kingdom that they have love for you, that they wish you to be there for them. And it's also known as the Chakravarti Raja. So the Chakravarti Raja is the one who is really aware of the entire cycle and of karma, and will do that karma to create the purity, the peace, the prosperity of the world in the material world. So you have that choice.
I wish we can go through every single verse in this chapter, Sister Denise, but it's not possible. So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your insight. And for those of you who are listening at home, I'm very glad that you joined us for this half hour. Sister Denise has shared her understanding of what is contained in chapter 8. And whilst the text is important, the focus and emphasis I feel in chapter 8 is, what do you want your final moments to be when you die? How you relate to God whilst you are alive, and how you deepen your relationship with God. The word steadfast was used, the word yogin is used, the one who doesn't remember anyone else, etc. So Sister Denise had said before, the question that you should be asking yourself is, what do I want? So leaving all of these thoughts with you, we do hope that you have taken immense benefit from today's episode, and I hope to see you soon for the next one. So Sister Denise, thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye to you at home.